Now some of you may have the reading pane turned on in your Outlook. In my particular inbox, which I've clicked on here, so I've clicked on the inbox in my folders pane on the left hand side of my screen, and I can see that I've got a number of items in my inbox. In fact, if I look down here on what they call the status bar, I can see I've got 5 items in my inbox, and I can actually see one of them is unread. And I can tell that the Gilmore's one is unread because it's bold and it's blue. So also, whenever you click on a folder, look in the lower left of your screen to find out how many items are in that folder and how many items are unread. Now what I'd like to do is turn on my reading pane so I can actually see what's inside of an email without having to double click it, because at the moment if I want to read what's in an email, I have to double click it and open the email. And there it is there. If I close it, I'm back to my inbox. To turn on the reading pane, we go to the View tab in the ribbon. Now in the View tab, you've got the reading pane button. If I click the reading pane button, I can show my reading pane on the right by clicking the right option. Now the idea here is I can simply click on an email, and on the right hand side I can clearly see what's in that email, which makes it nice and easy to read an email. Some people though like to have their reading pane not on the right hand side but on the bottom. If I click on bottom, I can see that at the bottom here I've got my reading pane, and again as I click on emails I can read what's in the email at the bottom of my screen. Now why would you choose right as opposed to bottom? Well, it depends on the size of your screen. If you have a large screen, it really doesn't matter. But if you don't have a large screen, let me just put the reading pane back on the right. When I put the reading pane on the right, see how I have very few columns here above my emails. Very few columns that I can sort my emails by subject or by date or by who they were from. Let me show you. If I drag this over to the right a little bit, here they are here. I can now sort emails by subject just by clicking the subject heading in ascending or descending order, or I could click by date by clicking on the received column. But the problem is, see how small my reading pane is. So people want to resize their reading pane so they can see more of what's in the email. Trouble is, they don't get many column headings now to sort their emails. If you have a large screen, that's not an issue. But if you have a small screen like a notebook or a laptop or what have you, you may prefer to put the reading pane on the bottom so that you can easily click these column headings, and let me resize that. You can see what's actually in an email by having your reading pane on the bottom. So that's the decider. And some people won't have the reading pane on at all because they don't want prying eyes to easily be able to read what's in an email as they walk past. So you can turn your reading pane off if you want to. For this particular series of videos, I'm going to leave my reading pane on, but I'm going to put it on the bottom. So I'll leave my reading pane on bottom, and I'll just resize it so it's taking up half the screen. So that's the reading pane. Now earlier I had 4 read messages and 1 unread message. Now all 5 messages are considered to be read. And so what I mean by that is Gilmore's is no longer bold, nor is it blue. And when I look down here in the lower of my status bar, I can see I have 5 items in this folder, but none of them are unread. So what's happened is Outlook has automatically marked an item as read purely because I've been moving around and clicking on that email. And as we can see, I wasn't reading the email at all. I was simply playing with my reading pane. What you may wish to address is the reading pane options. When I go into reading pane options, what Outlook likes to do by default is mark an item as read when you wait for 5 seconds. Or to mark an item as read simply when you move your selection from one email to another. Or some people mark an item as read by pressing the space bar. My preference is to actually turn all of these off. I don't want Outlook to mark anything as read. I will mark an item as read or unread. So I'm going to click OK. If I want to mark an item like Gilmore's as unread again, I'll right-click Gilmore's. Oh, let me click on it first and then right-click it, and I'll mark that item as unread. So now that item is unread, and as I move around now, it won't automatically mark it as read. In fact, if I wanted to mark all of these emails as unread, I'd press Control A, I'd right click, and I'd mark them all as unread. And so all 5 emails now are considered unread. If I right click, I can mark them all as read. And so now they've all been read, technically. If you don't like the right click method, you can also use shortcut keys. If I press the key combination Control U, I have now marked Gilmore's as unread. Notice also the 1 in the folders pane. This means there's one unread email. If I click on this email and go Control U, there are now 2 unread emails in this inbox. It's in the folders pane and it's down here again also. But if I go Control Enter or Control Q, I will actually mark that as read, and Control Enter, I'll mark that one as read. So the shortcut keys to mark an email as unread is Control U, and to mark an email as read is either Control Q or Control Enter.